But let's talk about Steph. Steph is out. Gut punch. Xfinity Mobile text line. YouTube, Twitch, good morning. You can call us at 888-957-9570. And I don't like where my head went when I saw this. I just, you've been saying we play with the panic meter and all this. And I'm like, there's no panic meter. These are the Warriors. They won a championship last year. Every year for the last few years, I feel like we've dealt with the same question. Kenny Loggins, if this is it, is this it? Please let me know. And for a number of times, how many of you said 3 years ago, the dynasty is over?
Sure.
And you weren't crazy to say it.
When KD left, we all kind of, closed the book.
And then there were the injuries.
They had the 15-win year, and then they had the play-in game loss, and then that was pretty much it.
But
it was over.
But we were wrong. It wasn't over. And so maybe we'll declare it over now, and we'll be wrong again. I don't want to declare it over. But there are a couple conversations that are now happening at the same time. This team does not play defense. This team has not gotten from its young players what they hoped to get from its young players. This team is 1 game over 500. Those things were already true. And then, down the stretch they come, this team lost Steph Curry. I don't think it's crazy to wonder out loud if this era, if you want to call it that, this era as we know it is over, and we just didn't realize it yet.
And you don't realize it until after the fact. And you said that on our show thread, and you said it during the changeover, and I think you're right in terms of the era, the dynasty. You don't know that it's over until it actually ends, and then it's like, oh my God, it was over. They won that last championship, the 4th one in 8 years, and that was it. It was over at that point. But this year, you come into it with a lot of hope. Andrew Wiggins is a different player, and Steph, Clay, and Dre are still here. And the young guys are getting better. And they replaced the veterans they lost with veterans who are good enough to maybe assimilate into the system and maybe be a facsimile of what you already had. So, yeah, the era's not over. And then now you look at the way this year has gone with injuries and a lack of real cohesion, and the defense is not nearly what it was last year. And now you can maybe say it's over, but we won't know until it ends if it's actually over. But right now it feels more over than it does feel like, okay, 5-9, here we go.
Right. Go back to the beginning of the year. This is a fun exercise. Think of your Warrior takes in October. I don't mean you. Anybody listening right now. Think of your Warrior takes in October. Have any of them happened? Any of them?
Kuminga, maybe.
Okay.
My Kuminga take.
Right. And what was the Kuminga take preseason?
I think Kuminga's ready to step in and be a real part of this rotation.
Okay. And it took a while, and now we're there.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of the year, remember, they're coming off a championship. They're already the best team. And now James Wiseman is going to get factored in. And Moses Moody has had playoff experience. And he is going to step forward. And Klay Thompson is going to start being available in all of the games. ... Like,
I had a take on Jordan Poole's ability to take a punch.
Oh.
Which that turned out to be accurate.
Yeah, no Jordan.
Thank
Poole.
you. I know he can take he can take a right hand.
Yeah, Jordan Poole. There's another one. Like Jordan Poole. It's time for him to step forward and really show whether or not he can be an NBA 1A.
My Kevon Looney take is, it looks like it's pretty solid. Kevon Looney's going to be a solid player, and he is, again, a solid player.
Yeah, so that was not a reach.
But your Kevon Looney
Kevon's going to be a workhorse.
And here he is.
There he is.
Your Kevon Looney take, that's a pretty safe bet.
Very few of the things.
Like a savings account. You can bank on it.
I mean, it's the lesson we have to relearn every year, and it's true in all sports, and it's why I'm still sick about what happened a little bit over a week ago to the 49ers. Because I know there's a processing, right? This is a coping mechanism for a sports fan. Because it's not actually that serious. It's not life or death. But we're sports fans, and there's a coping mechanism that happens when your team gets eliminated in a year where you thought they had a chance to win it all. The coping mechanism is, well, we're set up. We're set up for the future. And, hey, 49ers, we're just going to be back there again next year. Well, are we? Are we? Every season has all kinds of stories there's no way you could predict. Look at the Warriors. All of our preseason takes. very few of them have seen reality. At the beginning of this year for the 49ers, well, could be, should be, best team in the NFC West, and it ends up being a story about Brock Purdy, which there's no way that was going to be part of this conversation. So there's always these twists and turns, and it's just really a coping mechanism. This idea that, well, when it doesn't work, we'll be back next year. I'm also weaving in what we know about the Warriors' situation. It's not just their basketball, it's their situation. It's Draymond Green and an opt-in or an opt-out. It's Jordan Poole's money kicking in. It's Andrew Wiggins' contract kicking in. It's Joe Lacob being told, checkbook championship. And he's like, well, we're not gonna keep everybody. You wish you could. All of that factored into a 27-26 record and Steph Curry unavailable. Look, it's not crazy to say this might be it. This might be it. And last year's championship factors into this. You were at the parade. We were at the parade together. What did it feel like? Felt like those guys had achieved their career goal.
Right. It felt like a championship that they knew was a little bit out of the blue, and it felt like a championship that they could savor as much as, if not more than the first one. Because the first one is always special, but when the first one comes and you go 64-18 in the regular season and you run the table in the postseason and you win the championship, you know that it's special, but you had a whole regular season where it built up to that. Then you win 2 with KD, then you don't win a couple, and then all you want as a veteran core is, let's get one more chance to do this again. We want to taste that sweet, shout out Guru, nectar again one last time, and then you get through it. You win the opening series, you beat Memphis, you get through Dallas, you get to Boston, you go down 2-1, and one of your stars is being heckled like he's never been heckled before, and it affects him, and he's playing crappy, and yet you come back with a Steph Curry career changer, an absolute Steph game for the ages, and then you still win the series and you win that championship. It feels like they knew how special it was. Not that they came into this year hung over in any way, although you could kind of look at it and say, yeah, they didn't really come out firing. They were 3-7 to start the year. Maybe they knew at that point that it was over, but you got to keep playing. You got to keep grinding for it. Now here you are, 29 games from the finish line, and your best player is out for who knows how long. And now it kind of feels more like, geez, thank God we got last year because this year's not looking good.
I mean, you ever take out a loan?
Yeah, many.
You ever take out a loan?
Many loans.
Right? When you get the loan, what does that feel like in that moment?
Feels great.
Right?
You get
like,
this big pot of money.
Bank account is like, and you're like, okay, we can do whatever we need to do. But you know, down the road, you're going to get to the point where you got to pay the piper, and the likelihood is that money's going to get used, and then you still gotta
pay it back.
You gotta foot the bill.
Pay the piper.
And I'm just looking at these Warriors right now, and I'm thinking about how much is not known about 3 months from now. Think about it. We're all just sitting here like, woo, like, isn't this fun? Defending champs. Steph, Clay, Dre are still here. Bob Myers is coming up in 3 days on a trade deadline where he said publicly to Steiny and Goo just last week, I both feel like I want to make a deal and need to make a deal, but I don't know if there is a deal. Steve Kerr's like, I wouldn't expect a deal. Meantime, where's Bob Myers' deal? We don't even know what's happening with him. Draymond Green, you opting in, you opting out. What is the future of Klay Thompson when Jordan Poole's money kicks in? And you're 27-26. You play zero defense. Kyrie Irving just joined the fray in this middling Western Conference melee. I mean, we're sitting here. We've got the loan. We've had the loan for a decade. They've been the best thing that's ever happened in sports here in this town. But I just feel like, man, we are coming up on a due date, and we know nothing. We know nothing about the stability of this group going forward.
Well, the loan is about to adjust to a new rate. It's like a 10-1 ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage where you pay it for 10 years at that low rate, and then, 10 years is up, and now it's going to adjust to a much higher rate, and now that payment you're going to have to make is much higher because, to your point, you got a lot of questions. Steph Curry is here. Klay Thompson's here for one more year for sure. Draymond Green maybe's here. And if I'm Draymond Green, I'm absolutely opting in because I don't think that there's a deal out there that would pay you enough over the course of what you want to get. He's not going to go out there and get 4 years and $100 million.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure of that. Yeah.
But even if it was less,
sure
but even if it was less than that,
360.
I get
because he's getting 27.
Right.
If he opts in.
But wouldn't you do that? If
Why
you were
not
Draymond?
opt in for 27 and then you can roll the dice after that and determine what you want to get if you want to go somewhere else.
So you're going to look better on the open market next year when you're a year older and the Warriors may be in some sort of a transition. Like, I fully get what you're saying. I just know that most athletes, most of the time,
want the bird in the hand.
When you have a short-term opt-in, they opt out. Like, that's what Kyrie was arguing about with Brooklyn right now.
Right.
They don't want to do 1 year. Let's do 4 or 3 or whatever. And so, I don't know. I have questions.
So he goes to Dallas, and how do you think that changes Dallas's fortune? Because I look at Luka Doncic and the way he plays and the way Kyrie Irving likes to play. I know they're both very talented players, but I don't know if that's necessarily the mix that makes them all of a sudden Western Conference favorites.
No, I'm with you completely. It's always funny to me when somebody gets traded or becomes available, we immediately go to the basketball breakdown. I can't tell you how many people are like, wow, you put Luka with Kyrie, and Luka's always had to do so much work, and now there'll be less work for Luka, and if you're a defense, how do you stop this? I don't know. That's the same thing you said about Brooklyn 8 times the last 3 years.
Exactly.
Kyrie will stop himself. That's how. My question isn't how do you stop the Mavericks. My question is to Mark Cuban. How is it that you get Kyrie Irving to stop a pattern of unproductive behavior? How's that go? That's my question. So we can do this all we want. X's and O's, basketball. Sure, that's always been the case. But he finds a way to turn it into unproductive. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll turn it around. Maybe he'll become Cleveland's Kyrie again. But I wouldn't bet on it. This is a long-term pattern of unproductive behavior.
Right.
And it may be the story that took down the remainder of Kevin Durant's career in the end.
Well, maybe Kevin Durant's team got better, and there are reports that maybe the Nets are going to move Kevin Durant before Thursday. We had Howard Beck on the Morning Roast this morning, and he said he doesn't see or he doesn't hear any clamor about a possible Kevin Durant trade from the Brooklyn Nets based on the fact that they added a couple of veteran pieces. It felt to him like Brooklyn's ready to shore up and still be good with Kyrie gone. You brought in Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, and so Brooklyn maybe feels like they actually got better in the trade, but then the report from Stephen A. Smith on First Take that the Nets still actively shopping Kevin Durant. So it's going to be interesting coming up to Thursday's deadline about Kevin Durant. One thing I'm pretty certain of, the Warriors aren't getting Kevin Durant. They're not in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. Whether or not Kevin Durant gets traded is a whole nother issue. I don't think that he will, but for me, it's more interesting to see if the Warriors try to do anything with their team to improve. Or now do you have a Steph Curry injury and you look at it and you say, well, even if we bring in a veteran, Steph might be out 3 to 4 weeks. Do we have enough time to still make a run this year? Or do we want to stick to our 2 timelines?
Yeah, well, the 2 timelines feel like they've been totally busted, but I think to your point, like even if you have all kinds of head scratching going on about James Wiseman, Moses Moody, who just never really developed into anything this year that we really thought we were ready for this. We were ready for a productive piece out of Moses Moody. Even if you got all those questions, it's like I said earlier, do you want to now give them up for something that you feel is not realistic? What is it you're actually chasing? The Warriors know more than we do about how long Steph Curry is going to be out. And if Steph Curry is going to be compromised on some level, there's still questions about Draymond Green's health going down the stretch here. Klay Thompson's still not playing back-to-back games, and Wiggins does not look like himself, and they do not play defense. So if all
Are
of
you
those,
advocating we bring back the K-Wig bit? Because he's a lot closer to K-Wig than he is the Wiggins.
I'm not going to.
But you were steadfast against it a couple of months ago. you were like, that bit is dead. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But now here we are.
No, because I don't.
More and more, he is the invisible man.
Right,
out there.
but the K-Wig bit is about him coasting. It's about something sort of emotional. I think this is physical. I think it's physical.
You don't think he's right? Coming off the non-COVID illness and the adductor strain?
Adductor strain, yeah.
He's been back for a month from the adductor.
I know, and he's been awful. He's been largely awful.
He looks to me like he's floating more than he is hampered.
I just think that, sometimes it's the whole Warriors story this year is what's the continuity? Every 5 days, it's like, oh, we got to shuffle the deck, and now you get in there and you get in there. That was why the playoffs ended up being so beautiful last year, is it just sort of like all came to a head and everybody got healthy and understood their roles at the exact right time, and they went on a run. And because it's the Warriors, I'm not discounting their ability to do that again this year. It's still on the table. I think it's much more unlikely than it was last year, and last year was unlikely. But it just, I don't know, man. Yeah, he can't find his flow. He can't find the flow. He can't find the touch. He can't find the feel. I know, basketball players, like sometimes it just takes that one night. Andrew needs a heater. We haven't seen that this year. Remember last year against Minnesota or whatnot? Like every now and again, he'd have a heater. And I mean, there would be some dunks and there would be highlights and 35 points. And it's not there. It's not there. And
28 minutes against Dallas, 4 of 6 from the floor. You can't go on a heater if you don't try and score the basketball. Right. And that's what I see from Wiggins. By the way, he had 9 points, 0 rebounds, a grand total of 0 rebounds.
Which is
it's almost
bizarre.
Impossible to play a game and have 0 rebounds. Do you realize that 9 other Golden State Warriors played on the floor, and all 9 of them had at least a singular rebound? And by the way, he had 1 assist. If that doesn't reek of floating, I don't know what does. So you took 6 shot attempts, you had no boards, you had 1 assist. How many times did you actually touch the basketball?
I don't know. And it's funny because you remember this last year in the playoffs. Last year in the playoffs, didn't he? He had that game where he had like 15 boards or something like that.
Right.
And
dunking on people.
Well, and the teammates came in and made fun of him, and he publicly shared it where they were like, dude, you can do that. You have no excuse to, like, what have you been doing the last 6 years of your career?
What are you
doing, Wiggins? And he took it so well. He was like, yeah. Light bulbs on. Like, I am so athletically gifted that I can be on an NBA floor and I'm still the athletically gifted guy.
Right.
In this group. And it was almost like he didn't know that. And then he admitted that he knew that. And it appears he forgot. Because this is exactly the kind of game what you're talking about. That made them laugh. Like, it's like, dude, that should never, ever, ever happen. And he's like, you're right, it shouldn't. And now it's happening again.
He should be 18-8 every single game, no matter what. And he's a guy who could be 25 a night if he wanted. And he could be 11 boards a night if he wanted. But to come out and go 9-0-1 in, by the way, 28 and a half minutes. It's not like he only played 11 minutes. And I know they won the game. This is not to highlight a bad performance in a victory over, by the way, a Dallas team that didn't have Luka Doncic. But to me, as we go forward without Steph Curry, at least until the All-Star break, maybe for longer after the break, Andrew Wiggins is a guy who's got to step up and take up some of the slack.
I wonder the Jordan Poole effect on Andrew Wiggins. I know they all play together some, but if you look at the rotation from last year, especially when we got to the playoffs and we loved Wiggins so much, remember Poole, he got downgraded a little bit. There were games where he had lower minutes, especially against Boston. Plus, he was still coming off of the bench. Like, if Poole, this small lineup that they went with, and now Steph's out, maybe this will actually help Wiggins, I don't know. But if you've got Poole and Steph and Clay and Andrew all on the floor at the same time, well, Andrew kind of becomes option 4,
right,
scoring-wise. Yeah. And so it's a little easy to get, you're like, well, that's not enough shot attempts. Well, I don't know if it's getting to him. Like, that's a long way down the pecking order to get to Wiggins being featured.
Because the other 3 guys you mentioned are me-first players. But at that same point, you look at Jordan Poole against Dallas the other night. He didn't start the game, and Jordan Poole went back into his shell. 1 for 6 from the floor. He had 3 points. Jordan Poole, what the hell's going on? I mean, so you don't start, so now you don't shoot. And again, you beat Dallas, good for you. You beat a Dallas team that didn't have Luka Doncic, but Jordan Poole goes to the bench, and he goes 1 for 6. This team is broken in many ways,
well,
Mark.
these are the eyes with Curry out. So tonight, Oklahoma City, I really want to watch. Okay, you got to recalibrate, and you got to, and Kerr has already been and this is our lineup. We're going back to Looney, and now Poole comes in for Curry for the foreseeable future, for the month of February probably. This is your lineup. So how are you going to approach it? Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, my eyes are going to be on those guys more than the other guys tonight because I really want to see. They've got to set a tone. And Andrew has been doing the opposite of that.